do a long message because we have the candle lighting service, but I'm going to talk a little bit about stars because it seems to be in the news at the moment that stars, three wise men follow the star, and it's amazing, this Christmas star they're all talking about. One article said 7 BC was when the wise men set out on their journey to follow this star. That word star has taken on another meaning, and the media create a frenzy over the latest personality that has made the headlines. I've made the mistake of having the news on my phone, and my goodness, it's addictive. It's terrible. The poor old Queen, she can't move without someone saying she's upset or what she's had for lunch or what's happened to one of the corgis, and the rest of the family, God help them. But anyway, they've been interesting figureheads in part of our life. But now we've got other people that are stars as sports stars, film stars, TV stars, and we don't call them stars now because we call them superstars. So we've created the cult of the personality. Wow, that part of us that we've created here using our sacred power. And these other people that are personalities that use it without knowing the spiritual laws, my goodness, we follow those stars at our own risk. The star we follow at this time of Advent is our own inner star, which is symbolic of the immaculate Christ self, waiting for us to discover it within our own human body. We'll do our travels and we'll find wonderful places where we think, oh yes, I got a lot out of that, that lifted me up. But eventually, as the sages say, the further you go, sometimes the further away you get. So we know that it's inside us. So the further we go, the more we realize that it is back where we started. So acknowledging our inner Christ, Buddha, or Krishna is the first step in our expanding consciousness and realizing that we follow that light, that inner light, and we discover the joys of the kingdom. Now, there are some groups that are called the religion of light and sound. They claim that if you get to a certain point in meditation, you see an inner light. Some say it's blue, some say it's silver, some say it's gold. I believe that is a signal that we're on the right track. And we've talked a lot about the inner voice, that little inner voice, that small voice. Shouldn't say little because it has a mighty wallop if we don't listen to it. That is there too. So some people use that approach. But isn't it good if we follow it? We can then learn the joys and we can learn the keys of the kingdom, which if we know, we can make our life so much more joyful, which is our candle of the moment. So what are the keys of the kingdom? Well, the law of cause and effect. We've heard that all before, and we know how to create abundance in our lives. And a vital one here, the power of our thoughts and feelings. And most of all, what happens when we follow the golden rule, do unto others as we would be done by. We love all our fellow travelers with unconditional love because certain types of love aren't unconditional, and sometimes it can be tough love, which may not seem like love at the time we go through it, but it is. It's that harmonizing love. All this may be called the simple truth. And is that too easy, an explanation of the keys to the kingdom? Well, if so, try and put it into practice. Takes a lifetime. As Advent began, do you know it was the last week in November? And as I look around here today, I think our last service in here was in April. Reverend Sylvia, you gave the message, and it was a strange time, mixed feelings. And so here we are now in December, in a limited capacity back here, and it's good to be that, and we look forward to more in the future. But anyway, we know that Advent is a symbolic journey. And finally, I'd like to just explain these 4 candles again. The 4 candles represents ideals of our human heart. That first candle was faith and hope. We hope and we pray that we reach that part of our journey where we understand our inner Christ self and live from it. The second candle was called the Bethlehem candle. That beautiful candle is a symbol of peace, often known as the Bethlehem candle. And the Bethlehem candle, look up that in the Metaphysical Bible Dictionary or the Revealing Word. All these terms have a metaphysical meaning. They're 2 vital books that everyone here should have. Third candle is the angel's candle, signifying love. I briefly alluded to that, love in all its power. And the 4th candle we've lit, called the shepherd's candle, joy. And it says here, as the shepherds joyfully shared, we also hear the angel's message that Christ is born in us as we move on to the end of our journey of Advent into Christmas. The story of the birth of Jesus in the Bible is full of metaphysical symbolism, but other cultures have their symbolism as well. My favorites are the 3 wise men. I've been getting Christmas cards, as you know, over the years from them. You get cartoon ones, pompous ones, funny ones, very serious ones. But the 3 wise men symbolize something very special. The appearance of the star at that point in time was clearly to them a fulfillment of the Zoroastrian prophecy of the arrival of a great deliverer. And to me, it's very auspicious that in a couple of days' time, we have that possibly the same star, the same conjunction. Hopefully the deliverance will be us getting to our Christ self and living from that. Now, tradition, not the Bible, gives names to these wise men as Caspar, Melchior, and Balthazar. But the gifts are mentioned in the Bible. They were gold, frankincense, and myrrh. And Wayne is going to show us a slide of those 3. There we are. Wouldn't that be a nice present to have those 3 3 wonderful gifts in the one box? I've never seen that before in any of the shops. There they are. That's and there's the 3 wise men. I think that's off a card I had quite a few years ago rather. Now, gold metaphysically represents spiritual gifts, the riches of spirit. They brought to the Christ child a consciousness of the omnipresent riches of substance. Substance, the divine idea of the underlying reality of all things, the underbelly of everything. There is only one presence and one power, and as God's creation, we can consciously shape this substance. What a gift. But I might have mentioned this a couple of weeks ago. As Thomas Troud said in his book, Bible, Mystery and Meaning, the individual mind is not the creator of the power, but the distributor of it. And how we use that power is up to us. And we can find out how we use it by the consequences of what is being demonstrated in our life now. Finally, frankincense. This is a fragrant gum, according to the dictionary, and metaphysically it represents the transmutation of our material consciousness into spiritual consciousness. There's a saying that you don't get to heaven by betraying the earth. And that's a very, very powerful saying, because there are a lot of people may know how to manipulate spirit, but they don't have the spiritual development to go with it, which is quite scary, as we've seen in our history over the millennia. While we have our physical body, we give thanks for it. It is our vehicle for learning about the universal spiritual law. Yet, as we glimpse that inner star, that intuition, we become aware that we are not just a physical body. We are spiritual beings evolving. And as Ernest Holmes from Science of Mind says, we see life from the long run of the soul. Now, reincarnation isn't necessarily talked about in New Thought. It's there. Charles Fillmore wrote about it, and Ernest Wilson, one of my favorite Unity writers, has written a book about it. So that's an individual thing for us to come into the realization of at our own time. Great as our physical body is, it is still only temporary, whereas the real me, I believe, goes on and on expanding. Myrrh. Now, this is another resin, a perfume used in incense. Metaphysically, it represents the eternity of spirit, an emblem of the resurrection. There's that word again, resurrection. Rise up, reborn. Let's look at it that way. Through resurrection, we become an inhabitant here and now. We're not going to wait for the hereafter, because now is the only moment we have, this moment. So we need to get these laws going, or I need to get these laws going if I want to experience the full range of my experience here now, my eternal self now. And we know that heaven and hell are just states of consciousness that are brought on. And it's up to us to try and live with spiritual law so that we live more so in heaven. So to sum up, it's a joy for those who were brought up in the traditional Christian church. We know that we're on the right track. We are all anyway, regardless of which religion, culture, creed we're in. It's liberating to read the Bible and other holy books from different creeds and cultures, but let's apply them to our lives. The characters are all about us, from Adam to Jesus, the Christ. I was going to say from Bill to Buddha, and from Kenny to Krishna. There's all sorts of things. Whichever culture, it's the same story dressed up. I love old churches, stained glass windows, and the old hymns, and the ones we heard today were wonderful, but I've moved on from the dogma, as most of you here today, I can see, have. So with the new awareness, we can still enjoy our traditional Australian Christmas in all its many facets, especially in the giving and receiving. And what a tremendous gift awaits us, whether at Christmas or any other time, when we realize the full implications of receiving and accepting and putting into practice our own indwelling divinity, and the powerful realization that Christmas is about the conscious realization of the birth of Christ in us. So be it. Now, as you can see, we've put, thank you everybody, thank you, so be it. What a joyous time.